Welcome to Organized Chaos, the podcast dedicated to helping seven-figure companies grow to nine-figure ones by turning HR into rocket fuel for their growth. I'm your host, Nahat Kairala, and I've been helping companies do just that for more than a decade. In each episode, I'll dive into HR topics that have a significant impact on your company's growth and leave you with actionable advice that will help your business reach its full potential. Let's dive right in and start organizing all that HR chaos. Hello and welcome back to Organized Chaos. This is episode 16, and today I'm going to dive into a topic that's revolutionizing how we work: artificial intelligence. And I'm going to be talking about it within the context of HR. Since ChatGPT burst onto the scene a couple of years ago, AI has completely transformed the workplace. And I spent considerable time experimenting with various tools to understand their practical applications in HR. Before we dive in, I think there's an inescapable truth. AI is incredibly affordable, and there is no point in trying to resist its use in the workplace. For startups operating on tight budgets, there's really no excuse not to leverage AI in your daily operations. I've personally experimented with several AI-enabled HR platforms, in addition to ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and most recently Deepseek. I'll share my honest assessment of what I think works well, what doesn't, and towards the end, share which tools I recommend for different use cases. Let's start with hiring activities. AI has proven incredibly effective at creating job descriptions, and it's probably the most popular use case within the hiring stage. But there's a catch. Like any tool, the output is only as good as the input. And this is a trend you'll notice me talk about a lot when using AI. I found that you need to be extremely descriptive in your prompts about what the job entails. Vague inputs will give you vague, generic job descriptions that really won't help you attract the right candidates. If you write a generic prompt such as, "Write me a job description for a business development manager," you'll get a fairly generic job description. What you want to do instead is the following. Describe what your company does, why you're hiring the business development manager, and what are the most important outcomes you expect from the role. Be specific with what you expect the hired person to do, the responsibilities they'll have, and the types of decisions they'll make. The more detail you can offer, then the better your AI output will be. When I write job descriptions using AI, I make sure to include specific details about the role's responsibilities, required skills, and most importantly, the context of how this role fits into the organization. I found that providing AI with information about your company culture, growth stage, and specific challenges yields much better results than simply asking for a generic job description. Automated resume screening is another area where AI shines, particularly when your screening criteria are clearly defined in your job description. AI can quickly analyze resumes against your requirements and create a short list of top candidates. However, I have found that skills matching can be hit or miss. Unless you have a well-defined skills dictionary with detailed definitions, the AI might struggle to make accurate matches between candidates and positions. Unsurprisingly, AI cannot do a good job of initial screening if your job descriptions aren't very clear. I've also experienced some challenges with different file types and candidate formatting preferences, so I recommend using PDF versions of resumes when uploading to an AI tool. Here's a practical tip I've learned. Create a detailed rubric for each position before using AI for resume screening. This rubric should include must-have skills, nice-to-have skills, and specific experience requirements. When you feed this structured information into the AI, the quality of the screening improves dramatically. When you feed the structured information into the AI, the quality of the screening improves dramatically. So you need to be really careful when using AI, especially for resume screening and job description design, because the more information you can provide it and the more detailed that information is, the output's going to be way better. Now, moving on, let's talk about AI and interviewing. One of my favorite applications is automatic interview summaries using an AI bot on your interview call. I've used tools like Fathom.ai for this, and it's been a massive time saver. While the AI occasionally misses some points that we talked about during the interview, I've developed a hybrid approach where I still take my own notes, but I do cross reference them with the AI generated summary just to be sure that I got all the important points. It saves me a lot of time, and I did an exercise with one of my colleagues recently just to time exactly how much time savings we were getting. It was approximately 30 minutes per interview. And specifically, we're talking post interview activities in terms of consolidating notes, writing down the feedback in a concise format, and putting it into the ATS. Just using something like Fathom really cut down the time by approximately 30 minutes per interview, which is kind of massive. Now, let's move on to employee surveys. I've had positive results using AI to analyze survey data. It's quite effective at processing qualitative data and makes it easy to generate main themes from open ended responses. However, sentiment analysis is still somewhat unreliable. Tools like Lattice are making progress in this area, but there's still room for improvement. On many occasions, the AI might frame a comment as having negative sentiment, although that's incorrect based on the context of the question being asked. The opposite is true as well, where negative comments could be classified as positive. So I haven't found AI to be very reliable in extracting sentiment from comments related to employee engagement and employee feedback. But it does a great job of consolidating all the qualitative feedback you get and really give you some on point summaries and on point themes, and also provide you with some recommendations for taking action. A word of caution here: while AI can help identify trends and patterns in employee feedback, it is crucial not to rely solely on AI generated insights. I always recommend cross referencing these insights with direct employee conversations and feedback sessions. The human element in understanding employee experience cannot be completely automated. And I also recommend that you apply an additional set of eyes on whatever's being generated by the AI in this specific area, as well as others, just to make sure that you're not getting any output which doesn't make sense and doesn't tie in with the data at hand. Now, let's shift gears a bit into performance management. When it comes to performance management, AI has shown promise, I would say, in flagging potential biases in reviews and employee feedback. It can identify potentially biased language and suggest improvements, but I found that sometimes these suggestions can be a bit too generic or overly cautious. While AI is a useful tool for catching obvious bias, it's not yet sophisticated enough to completely replace human judgment in this area. I've used AI to phrase and rewrite feedback, but every now and then I get language that seems like someone is just trying way too hard to be nice and really not hurt the other person's feelings. AI generated employee feedback is great for a first draft, really just to cut down on your writing time, but I highly recommend fine tuning and editing the output with your voice and tone. One thing I like to do, which has helped me tremendously, is to upload some samples of previous feedback I've given to employees and tell the AI model to use the same tone and voice when writing the content. This approach yields higher quality results and requires less effort to edit. When it comes to HR administrative tasks, AI has been a game changer. If you're anything like me, then you spend a lot of time building reports and dashboards. Creating complex spreadsheets and formulas used to take hours out of my time. Now I just explain what I want to the AI model, and it provides me with the appropriate formulas instantly. I explain which tool I'm using, for example, is it Excel, Google Sheets, or anything else, what the entire spreadsheet does, which cells need to be referenced and how, and what I'm expecting as output. The AI takes all this information and creates complex formulas that are flawless. I've even used AI to help me create scripts to automate certain actions in Google Sheets. This has cut my report building time by more than half. I also rely heavily on AI for my first document and communication drafts. Think emails, announcements, policy documents, processes, and more. If it requires me to write, then I'm most likely going to generate a first draft with AI and take it from there. General employee assistance is another area where AI has excelled. Chatbots can analyze company documentation and policies to answer common employee questions about benefits plans, sick leave policies, and so forth. This reduces the administrative burden on HR teams and provides employees with instant access to information they need. HR platforms like Bamboo HR can now do this for you. It's a huge time saver and allows HR teams to operate with a smaller headcount, something which is quite important for growing startups. AI is also gaining traction in the benefits space. It can recommend health plans based on questionnaires about an employee's health needs. It can also analyze claims and help you optimize spending as an organization. So there's a lot of good uses for AI in the benefit space, given that it's such a complex area and has a lot of information and data, and it helps really with the analysis of this mass amount of information that's thrown at you. However, I need to add a strong cautionary note here. This involves handling sensitive personal information. And in AI's current early stages, I recommend being extremely careful with sharing this type of personally identifiable information. Make sure you understand the privacy implications and data handling practices of any AI tool that you're using for benefits related tasks, as well as any other really issues where you have confidential information at stake. One area that has impressed me quite a bit is AI's ability to monitor regulatory compliance. When connected to appropriate labor law data sources, AI can effectively cross check your HR policies against compliance requirements and really provide you with some solid recommendations for necessary changes. Newer AI models are quite effective at sourcing labor law compliance information and giving you accurate answers to complex situations. However, I still strongly recommend getting an opinion from outside labor law counsel, especially for companies with employees in multiple states or countries. The good news is that most AI models will allow you to point them to the resources that you want them to reference when giving you an answer. This is an important step because there is a lot of unreliable information online that you don't want the AI model to reference. For example, if you want information about the Massachusetts paid family and medical leave, then tell the AI tool to reference the Massachusetts government's website that contains all the documentation on PFML. This way, you'll know that the model is only using reliable information to answer your questions. Before I jump to my final recommendations and rundown of the tools I use, I want to talk about how I've used AI in workforce planning. This is something that I experimented with recently and have seen impressive results from. The reason I find workforce planning as a fascinating use case is because it's usually a major challenge for fast growing companies. And rarely anyone gets it right. And a lot of times, what I've seen with hypergrowth companies is that their manpower plans end up way off from their actual hiring. As of right now, the best way I've gotten an AI model to provide me with logical workforce plans is by providing it with the following documents where I redacted sensitive information in the company's name. Number one, a detailed corporate strategy document that explains the current state of the business and where the company wants to go. Number two, an up to date organization chart that includes all the job titles without people's names, as well as all the job descriptions that are shown on that organization chart. Number three, a skills dictionary, if available, that lists and defines all the skills that the company needs, has at the moment, and why those skills are important. And finally, number four, the projected hiring plan from leadership and rationale behind the plan. After analyzing all these inputs, a capable AI model will provide you with a detailed workforce plan with a rationale that ties in very well with the corporate strategy. It's also able to provide some feedback on the existing hiring plan and explain its position. Again, like other use cases with AI, it is not 100% perfect, but it gives you an outstanding starting point that you can build on. Typical workforce plans in growing organizations take at least a couple of weeks to really formulate together. But with the help of AI and assuming that these inputs are available to you, takes really less than a few minutes to get it done, which saves you a lot of time and effort and really sets you on the path of getting a strong workforce plan in place given the quality of the output, assuming that you have these inputs in place. Now that I've talked about the main HR use cases that I leverage AI for, let me share my personal experience with AI tools within the context of HR, as I think this might help you make informed decisions about which ones could work for your organization. From an HRIS standpoint, Bamboo HR has recently introduced the AI chatbot for employee self service that I talked about earlier, and I've been impressed with its performance. The bot analyzes all documents you upload to the system, and it provides employees with very accurate answers to their questions, and it does it instantly. What I like about this implementation is how it reduces the repetitive questions that typically flood HR inboxes. The system works really well, especially when your documentation is well organized and up to date. Lattice, the performance and engagement tool, and now they also introduced an HRS, it's also another popular tool that provides AI writing assistance for feedback and performance reviews. It's a good solution for team members who might struggle with written communication. What's even more impressive is their survey analysis capability. It effectively captures key themes from employee responses and provides actionable recommendations. This helps me move from data collection to actual action much faster than I could in the past. Lattice's sentiment analysis on written feedback is hit or miss, just like I mentioned earlier, and it's not unique to Lattice. This is something I've seen commonly in most AI tools, to be honest, and I've really found it unreliable and just don't use it at all. When it comes to general use AI models, I've extensively tested most of the popular ones, and here's my honest assessment. ChatGPT is the reliable all around player. It performs well across most tasks without necessarily excelling in any particular area. It's my go to tool when I need a good balance of capabilities. Claude has impressed me the most when it comes to writing tasks, especially when you provide it with samples of your existing writing. Its ability to mimic your voice and style is quite remarkable. I often use it for drafting communications that need to maintain a consistent tone similar to previous messages I've sent out. I also use Claude for first drafts of policy documents. Its writing sounds more human than other tools I've tried. Deepseek, which is all the buzz right now, is relatively new in my testing arsenal, but it's showing some promise. I see it more as a complementary tool, to be honest, rather than a primary one. It sometimes offers unique perspectives or approaches that the other models just might miss. But I haven't found anything, I would say, completely unique about it to get me to leave the existing tools that I use, like ChatGPT and Claude, and dive into DeepSeek exclusively. So again, I use it from time to time if I just want to get some additional ideas or brainstorming on something. And although a lot of times its output is very similar to the other stuff I get from other models, it does on occasion give me some unique perspectives that I take into account, which weren't captured by, let's say, ChatGPT or Claude. I gave Microsoft Copilot a fair shot, but eventually abandoned it almost a year ago. Despite being powered by OpenAI, it consistently performed like a watered down version of ChatGPT. I'm not sure if this was a user error on my part because my prompting skills have definitely gotten better over the past couple of years, but the experience was frustrating enough that I couldn't justify continuing to use it. I thought the output was often a miss, and I never bothered to give it another shot. Google's Gemini has been my least favorite of the bunch. I found it often misses the mark and just doesn't provide the same level of quality output as the other models. While it might improve over time, currently it's not meeting the bar set by its competitors. Google is shoving Gemini down our throats across all of their workspace apps, but it lacks a lot of the capabilities that tools like ChatGPT and Claude offer. So I really don't use it at all. So let's wrap up with a few thoughts. As you can tell, I'm a huge fan of AI, and it's part of my daily operation. But if I want to be very objective here, I think AI at this point is primarily a productivity booster at this stage in its life cycle. It just allows you to do things faster and cheaper. The analysis capabilities are quickly improving, and I have been impressed by how much better this has looked in the past 3 to 4 months. The top AI tools are fantastic at analyzing and summarizing large amounts of data, but it needs quality input to produce quality output. In other words, you need to invest time and effort into building quality inputs in order for AI to be useful in more complex requests, such as the workforce planning example I gave earlier. Finally, be realistic about AI's capabilities. While it's an incredibly powerful tool, It's not a magic solution for all HR challenges. Use it strategically. Focus on areas where it can truly add value and always maintain the human element in your HR operations. For example, don't ask AI to help you decide between two candidates for a job. AI still lacks a human's ability to contextualize information, and who knows if and when it will ever overcome that. That's all for today's episode. I hope this gives you a practical framework for thinking about AI implementation in your HR operations. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review wherever you get your podcasts. This will help me spread the word about organized chaos and keep the show going. If you have any questions or topics you'd like to suggest for the show, please send me an email to hello@organizedchaos.fyi. For more content and resources, make sure to check out the website at organizedchaos.fyi. See you on the next one.